How would you feel if you were sentenced to life in prison because you were standing up for your people and what you thought was only fair? I chose Nelson Mandela as my person of topic for my informative speech because that is what happened to him. Nelson Mandela was mainly known for his involvement as a civil rights activist and his 27 years spent in prison. Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, into the Madiba clan, which is part of the village of Mimbezo. At the age of 9, Mandela's father died of lung cancer. Soon after, Nelson was adopted by the chief of the Madiba clan as his own son. Nelson Mandela attended the University of Witwatersrand, where he studied law. In 1994, Mandela joined the African National Congress, also known as the ANC. The ANC is a national African Congress that helps the Republic of South Africa's governing Social Democratic political party. In 1954, Mandela stood up against the government that was committing crazy human rights abuse. After standing up to the government, Mandela was charged with the crime of standing up against his government. In 1956, he was sent to trial for this charge. He was acquitted in 1961 and was sentenced to 5 years of hard labor. In 1963, Mandela and a few other inmates were accused of trying to plan and overthrow the government. On June 12th of 1964, Mandela and the other inmates were sentenced to life in prison on Robben Island. In 1982, Mandela and the other inmates that were ANC leaders were also moved to the Pollsmoor prison. They were moved there to supposedly enable contact between the ANC leaders and the South African government. While in prison, Mandela became known worldwide. He was slowly becoming the most significant African American leader. Not only was he known worldwide, he was pretty much became the leader of his own prison. Through his intelligence and charm, Mandela was able to gain control over many tough guards. Mandela was released from prison on February 11, 1990, after spending 27 years behind bars. Frederick William de Klerk was the South African president who released Nelson Mandela from prison. De Klerk also unbanned the ANC and removed political groups, and then suspended executions from further happening. After being released from prison, Mandela became a symbol of global peacemaking. In 1993, he actually won the Nobel Peace Prize, and on April 27, 1994, Mandela was announced the new president of South Africa. Nelson served one 5-year term as a South African president. In 1995, Mandela began using rugby as a drive for social change. He hoped this would reunite the nation that had been broken for so many years. His impact on the sport allowed him to be inducted into the Rugby Hall of Fame in 2015, even though he had already died. Mandela died in December of 2013 at the age of 95. Mandela, like I said, he did not play rugby, but his impact on the sport was outstanding. He brought his nation to stability and regained peace after so many years of decimation. In today's time, Nelson Mandela is known as an important staple in today's history. I'd always heard about him, but never really took the time to research him more. All Mandela really wanted in life was a fair treatment for African Americans, and he wanted to go to any extent to receive this fairness. Overall, Mandela was a great part in African history, and even though he spent many of his years in prison, he was still continuously making an impact on the way things were happening in his nation.